let's start out with a meditation before we get into our talk. So if it's appropriate for you, if it's safe for you, close your eyes, uncross your arms and legs unless you're sitting on the floor. Take a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, you feel more light entering your body, and with every exhale, you're able to drop away and let go of anything that you do not want. Feeling more light on every inhale and more relaxation and peace on every exhale. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. And in the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove up with a sacred golden light. We recognize this light as the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it burns away everything that is not like itself. Into the sacred space and circle, we now invoke our source. For some of us, we see that as a god and goddess or mother and father. We ask that all of our teachers, our angels and guides be with us as we walk upon our path. We ask that they lead us and guide us so that we can become happier, more peaceful, and more loving people. We are very, very grateful, and if it's appropriate, out loud, you can say the words, "Blessed be." There's so much out there about the craft, online and everywhere, even in the books. And it seems like wherever you look, there is more and more about the craft. There's more and more about the craft everywhere you look. There's so many so-called experts out there. And it just seems like everywhere you look, there's another piece of information. And so much of this information contradicts other information. And it starts to look as though there's nothing but chaos. It becomes extremely challenging for newcomers to know what to follow, what to learn, what to bother with. And it ends up sometimes seeming as though none of it is worthwhile, and let's not even bother. I feel for you. I understand the frustration that can ensue because of that. I came up in the craft many decades ago where we didn't have the internet. We did have some periodicals, and we had some books. We had things like correspondence courses, but we didn't have all of this. We didn't have all the noise. So I was fortunate because I didn't have so much to choose from. So I was able to just follow the path as it was taught to me by the people that I could find. And I was very fortunate to be led to the right people and the right organizations and be able to train myself. But not everybody seems to have that available to them, just because, like I said, there's so much out there. And as a result, people tend to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and they start to create their own version of the craft. And I'm not saying that's bad, and I'm not saying you can't do that. Of course you can. You can do anything that you want. But my perspective on magic is that results are your proof. Results are your proof. It doesn't really matter what the technique is if it doesn't get you results. It doesn't really matter what the tools are or what the teachings are if you don't have results. And if you can remind yourself of that as you traverse the Wicca sphere out there, it can help you to at least hone down your craft to the point where you can allow yourself to release from your craft, from your practice, those things which don't work for you. I don't know that most people teaching talk about results. And I think that a lot of people teaching don't actually get results from their magic. And so it ends up being a lot of the blind leading the blind. And It probably sounds like I'm being elitist or critical when I say that, and I'm not. I'm not. I'm being very compassionate. I'm being compassionate with both the people that are trying to help because they think they're doing a good thing, unless they're trying to capitalize and make money, in which case the craft tends to take care of that anyway. And I'm also being compassionate towards the seekers. They do want something. They do need something more than what they've been able to find. And to their credit, they keep trying and they keep looking and they keep searching. But the problem is that if you keep searching and finding these things and keep compiling a craft that is a lot of busy work that doesn't produce results, it can be very frustrating. And so what happens is that we end up starting to see people justifying why they don't get the results, justifying why their craft doesn't work, justifying the practices that they are engaged in. And then that justification then takes on a life of its own. And then you become more and more removed from the purpose of why you got into magic in the first place. Most people didn't get involved in magic because they wanted more things to do, because they didn't have anything to do and they had nothing but time. Most people get involved with magic because they're looking for answers. They're looking for tools that they can use that can help them in their lives, that can actually help them solve problems and help them become better at things and to achieve goals. It's good to actually be scrutinous about your practice. What is it that I'm doing? What do I spend my time with? How much time am I spending doing these things that everybody tells me I need to do? And am I getting a result from it? And what is that result? How am I able to verify that result? And am I able to repeat that result? Am I able to get verifiable, repeatable results from my craft? And if the answer is no, that's good news, because then you can start to clean house. You can start to clean house and say, well, okay, I know I'm supposed to. Everybody says I have to take sage and burn it in my house. Well, have you ever bothered to question why? And if that's necessary and where that came from, why that's become such a necessity? Because it wasn't when I was growing up. Nobody burned sage when I was growing up. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't until the New Age movement in the mid-'80s started to take off that practices of so-called Native American tribes were starting to be co-opted. And so some of those people used the burning of sage in their ceremonies, and then that became something that we co-opted. And then every magical person became inundated with this, I have to burn sage rule. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't burn sage, and I'm not saying that you can't burn sage, although I question whether it's healthy to burn a lot of sage indoors, and I also question whether it's sustainable, whether it's an ethical practice. But regardless of that, if you are indeed seeing results in your life where that you can attribute to the burning of sage, then you've proven that it works. Results are your proof. But a lot of people don't even bother to ask, is my point. A lot of people just assume, well, everybody's burning sage, so I have to burn sage. It seems like everybody's making moon water. I hear about moon water more than I hear about anything. That was never a big deal. I mean, it's not that we never made it in the past, but it was never a big deal. It wasn't like this thing, well, you must have a gallon of moon water at all times. It was never a thing. But it just seems like everybody has to make moon water, but nobody is asking themselves, what is this doing for me? What kind of actual repeatable, verifiable results am I getting from doing this? And if you're getting them, great. Then you can repeat that. Then you can do that. But are you able to get the same results from another kind of technique? Or is it only that one thing that's creating that result for you? I mean, we don't give ourselves the option of asking ourselves, of really going in and lifting the hood and looking underneath and just saying, well, what's working and what's not? And why is this working and why isn't this working? We just assume that since everybody's doing it, I have to do it too. Now, when I teach, like in a witch's primer, I give you 18 weeks. I say, just take my word for it for 18 weeks. Just take my word for it and do these things. And then we'll look back and we'll take a look and see how you did. But that's only for the purpose of giving you a practice that you can then scrutinize and ascertain whether or not you're getting results, whether or not you're a more powerful magician or witch as a result of doing those practices, and whether you are able to see the results from your spells. So I'm not saying that it isn't ever appropriate to kind of blindly try something because a teacher gave it to you. But that's very different than just hanging out on forums and Reddits and things like that. And because everybody's doing something that you think you have to do it, and never questioning why. What's it doing for me? What's it bringing to me? What are the results that I'm getting? I don't think that most of the so-called experts out there are really ever asking you to ask that question. At least I don't see it that much. I could be wrong. Ask that question. What are the results that you're getting? Are you achieving results? Are you being successful in the areas of your life that you desire success? Is your magic actually helping you? Or is it just another thing that you're doing? Is it just another bunch of tasks that you have to add to your to-do list? I mean, aren't you? We're busy enough. Magic should be helping us, not bogging us down with more burdens, more things that we have to do. I see it too, where the teachers have a lot of products that they sell. And we offer that as well. We have products as well that you can buy, but nothing that we sell is something that you absolutely need. I mean, you don't need an Ariel's Corner T-shirt in order to practice magic. You don't need one of the Athames on our Amazon affiliate store in order to practice magic. There's nothing that we sell that is a necessity for your craft. In fact, any of the tools that we talk about can be something that you repurpose from your everyday, day-to-day life. You don't need to ever spend a dime on supplies. But that's not what's taught. What's taught is that you need these things. You need certain products. You need certain things in order to make your magic work. But unfortunately, many people don't question that. Many people don't say, why do I need these things? Do these things really work? Are these necessary? Now, there's nothing to say that you shouldn't or that you can't buy the things if you enjoy them. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you enjoy a specific aesthetic, or if you enjoy a specific kind of tool or kind of incense or kind of essential oil or something like that, absolutely. Absolutely. The bottom line is that you should be able to, in your diary, look back and say, I did A, B, C, and D, and the results I got were E. And if you can't do that, then at least you've made specific notes about what you did so that we can help you, or somebody that has some more experience than you do, help you to troubleshoot your process so that you can get the results that you're looking for. Now, there's so many reasons why it might not have worked. Maybe your technique was wrong. Maybe you just didn't have the steps right, and you weren't capable of achieving the results magically because you were leaving certain steps out. Maybe your goal was outside of your sphere of influence, your current sphere of influence, and we need to, pull the goal in a little bit or chop it into several different goals, smaller pieces at a time. Maybe you're trying to do something that is not good for you. Maybe you're trying to get something that's not good for you, and either the influence of Saturn or the influence of your own higher self is blocking it for you. Maybe you're trying to achieve something that's not something you really want, but something that you think you should have. Maybe you're misperceiving the situation that you're trying to work magic on to heal, and you don't understand the situation for what it is, and you need to look at it from a new perspective. There are a lot of reasons why your magic might not be working, but all of them are fixable. All of them are tunable. We can tune it up. We can troubleshoot it. But to just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and never asking yourself, is it working? Did I get it? Did I get what I set out to do? Spells aren't open-ended. Spells aren't like, maybe it worked. No, that's not what a spell is. A spell is, I want this. Did you get this or didn't you? Now, yes, we usually say when we're working magic, this or something even better, but not something even better that has nothing to do with the first thing. If you're doing a spell for a Toyota and you get a Mercedes, your spell worked. But if you did a spell for a Toyota and you get a watermelon, it didn't work. It has nothing to do with it. So the watermelon wouldn't be the something even better. Do you understand? If you're doing a spell to get all your taxes paid and the IRS forgives your taxes rather than you getting the $10,000, it worked. But if you did a spell to get all of your taxes paid and you want a free trip to the Bahamas, it didn't work. So you should very easily and clearly be able to say, yes, this worked, and no, this didn't work. And to say, no, this didn't work is a powerful thing to say because it gives you an opportunity to learn, to grow, to retool, and to make things happen for yourself. Your failures in magic are very, very important, but we don't talk about that enough. There's all kinds of blah, 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 blah gibberish about things. And not enough of, okay, this didn't work. What did you do? And let's try this. Let's tweak it and try it again. Let's tweak it and try it again. Right? So results are your proof. You can tattoo that little mantra on the inside of your eyelids. Results are my proof. Results are my proof. Did I get it or didn't I get it? If I didn't get it, how do I fix it? If I got it, great, it worked. I know that spell's a winner. And that's why we have things like magical diaries. That's why we do things like keep notes and make lists and things like that. That's why it is so important to be streamlined and focused and not put everything but the kitchen sink into your spell. It's a good idea to keep everything simple and focused because that way, if you have to tweak something, you're only tweaking one ingredient at a time. But if you have so much stuff going on at once, you won't know what works and what doesn't. So it's so important and so imperative that we take time and really make an inventory of our craft, an inventory of our practice. What is superfluous and what is necessary? What is working and what is not working? What are ideas that are valid? And what are ideas that I've picked up that are absolutely not valid and that I can get rid of? There's a lot that you can question. And I recommend that you question everything in not only in the craft, but in life in general, but especially in the craft. Question it all. Don't just assume that people know what they're talking about. And don't also assume that because it works for somebody that it'll work for you. And don't feel bad if something doesn't work for you. You don't need to feel bad if your spell didn't work. Say, yay, it didn't work. Now I can figure it out. Don't feel bad if somebody always uses sage and you don't like the smell of it. You don't need it. There's another way to go. I don't burn sage. I haven't burned sage in years. Can't stand the way it smells. And I don't like to breathe a bunch of smoke, so I don't burn incense indoors. Does that mean that my magic can't work? My notes will say otherwise. There's a lot of almost peer pressure out there about how the craft works. And so much of it is the blind leading the blind. You don't need everything that everybody talks about. You don't need a lot of that stuff. You need real basics. The craft is real basic. You need, in order to be a successful witch or magician, you need to have that witch's pyramid. Faith, imagination, will, and secrecy. I've never seen it fail if you've got those things in place and really strong. You really work those power bodies. I've never seen it fail. You need to be able to know the steps of spell casting. You've got to be able to relax your mind and lower your shield. You've got to be able to somehow conjure an image in whatever way works for you, whether it's visual or not. You've got to be able to conjure the emotion that is appropriate for your spell. And you've got to be able to release it and know that it's working. You've got to be able to learn how to access Akashic energy by working with symbolism that has very deep and ancient power. Certain colors, certain perfumes, certain gems, and things like that. But you don't want to overload your spell with too many of those things. Only a few are necessary so that you're not overcomplicating things. There are ways and means to accomplish your desires through magic that really do work. But if you allow yourself to be distracted by so many things out there, by so many maybe well-meaning people that don't necessarily know how to do what they're talking about, then all you get is confusion. So if you just remind yourself that results are my proof, results are my proof. If I'm getting results, I'm doing it right. If I'm not getting results, I need to tweak it. I need to change it. I need to rethink things. Then you stay on the straight and narrow, so to speak, and you can let go of all of that excess so-called knowledge and really just focus on the things that work. Nobody gets to define for you what your craft looks like, but you. You don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't have to defend your craft to anybody, nor do you have to second guess yourself. You want to make sure that you protect your craft from all of those ideas that are so pernicious, that are counter to your effectiveness. Does it work? Does it work? That's all that matters. Does it work? And a lot of people do things and they're so committed to certain practices and they've never asked themselves if they work. All they care about is the thing itself. They care about the ritual side of it, but they don't even look at whether it works for them or not, whether they get a result or not. Magic is the art and science of creating change. So whatever your goal is, you should be able to state very clearly whether or not it worked. The results are your proof. Remind yourself of that again and again and again, and allow yourself to start being successful with your magic rather than chasing after carrots. The ego loves that. The ego loves to chase carrots. The ego loves to seek and not find. The ego loves to have you off on a wild goose chase or running down rabbit holes. And in magic these days, there's plenty available. So just to be aware of that. Am I chasing or is it working? You try it. Did it work? Did it make a difference? Does it make sense theoretically? Does it hold up to any kind of scrutiny? Why should I do this? Why are they saying I should do this? Does this make sense with just basic magic theory or not? If it does, then try it. Maybe it'll work for you. And then, but then make your notes. Keep copious notes about it, and make sure if it works, great. Then you can repeat it. Then you can add that to your arsenal. If it didn't work, maybe put it on the back burner. Try it another time, or just get rid of that idea altogether. Results are your proof. All right. Well, thanks for spending a little time with me. I really appreciate you, and we'll be back soon for another talk. Much love and many, many blessings.